Well, as promised, ladies and gentlemen, we have another video about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And again, I want to preface this video by saying I'm extremely excited about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I cannot wait for this game to come out to make all the woke people online just absolutely like crazy. But the thing is, we have people who are trying to turn this into a modern audience game. We have articles from The Gamer. I already covered one earlier, so if you guys missed that video, go check it out. But we have another one basically talking about how Final Fantasy VII is apparently gaming's greatest lesbian scavenger hunt by essentially making people find a ton of NPCs that all are apparently gay.
This!
What is that?
Not only that, this article is written by someone called Jade King, which for some reason, I mean, I don't know if this is a white liberal woman or it's probably a trans person. Usually when they hide their profile picture like this and they try to make it ultra cartoon feminine, it usually is a trans person, but I really am not sure. I don't have any proof of that. But I do think it's quite funny that people like this are the ones who are writing articles like this about apparently wanting Tifa and Aerith to be a lesbian couple, because that's clearly what everybody wants who are Final Fantasy fans. So let's get into this article, guys, from The Gamer. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is filled with queer representation, which is what apparently everybody wants, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently everybody wants massive amounts of queer representation in Final Fantasy because that's what's been missing. While none of the main cast have been confirmed to be LGBTQ, as much as my heart ships Aerith and Tifa, the world that the game takes place in is surprisingly queer, and easily the biggest step towards inclusivity this series has ever taken. While Final Fantasy XVI has a heartfelt yet underutilized gay romance thanks to Dion Lesage and Sir Terrence, it never felt like it took its representation far enough. As the player, we were left to fill in the tragic gap ourselves instead of embracing queer joy, which should still be possible in the midst of a grounded fantasy world. Now, I have a major issue with this entire paragraph. First off, Final Fantasy XVI apparently not taking the gay romance far enough. I think they took it plenty far enough. You literally have Bahamut or Bahamut's person in a gay relationship with a soldier that he commands. I mean, it is very forward. It is very obvious on screen. There is nothing that you don't see. There is nothing that's hidden. It is very much a forward and upfront LGBTQ representation, unfortunately. And they did it with one of the most prominent, if not the most famous and prominent summon in all of Final Fantasy. So I really don't know how much more representation you need when you have a character or a summon that is so important to the series and you gayed him. Like, there is nothing bigger than that, in my opinion. So I don't agree with this comment at all. If you think this is not enough, I can only imagine how far you would want to go. You would probably want to make the entire cast gay, most likely. And even then, that's not far enough. You got to take it one step further every single time. And then it says, as a player, we were left to fill in the tragic gaps ourselves. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with filling in the story yourselves and thinking about the story overall? But I don't agree with this either because, again, you got the entire story laid out for you. They told you exactly what happened between the two characters. You saw how tragic it was, and that was it. That was the story. I mean, I don't know what more these people want other than full, utter control. It says Square Enix had clear intention to improve upon this in Rebirth in subtle yet impactful ways that fold beautifully into the open world. Throughout my 60-hour review playthrough, I would make a point to slowly walk around each new town and settlement, taking in unfolding conversations between people who are simply going about their everyday lives. While Cloud and company are trying to save the world, the majority of the citizens you stumble across are all trying to make ends meet, constantly worrying about the capitalist overlords staring down at them. They have to exist within the confines of the systems they can't control, so why not try to grasp onto a semblance of happiness while they still can? Listen, just so you guys are aware, while we're going through this article, this person, Jade King, makes it very obvious where they stand. Anti-capitalist, all about LGBTQ queerness, literally hates men, talks about toxic masculinity. This is the kind of person that is reviewing games. Like, this is the kind of person who they hire strictly because they check off a box of LGBTQ queerness. That's the only reason they exist, because why else are you playing games? If you're playing games to look for this stuff, you are not actually a gamer. You are a tourist. I say this all the time. You are not an active gamer. Anybody who's a gamer doesn't give a shit about half the stuff that's being talked about in this article. But for people like this is all they care about. They grasp at straws because they feel like they don't get anything. Then it says queer communities are part of this equation, and much like the Owl House, Rebirth takes place in a world where homophobia doesn't appear to exist, even if other forms of prejudice do play a role in the narrative as Midgar and Wutai continually butt heads with each other of their troubled history. I first stumbled across this in the town of Calm, where the game begins and you first develop a taste for the open world. The streets are packed with citizens talking, merchants trading, and a genuine buzz that prevents the affair from feeling too artificial. One of the first things I encountered was two women involved in a small scuffle as they furiously slapped one another in the face as they appeared to argue over a cheating boyfriend. Well, that sounds like very representative for sure. After progressing the main story for a few hours and noticing the sun had begun to set in the sky, I opted to return to Calm to pick up a few side quests and restock my inventory, quickly noticing that new NPCs were now occupying certain spots around town, taking part in dense conversations that weren't there previously, or were extensions of prior stories. When I went to check on the two women, they were now holding hands and embracing each other, talking about whether they should take a vacation to Costa del Sol or Gold Saucer in order to make it up to each other and deepen their relationship. It's only a few lines of dialogue, but Square deciding to flesh out otherwise meaningless characters like this in its open world makes it so alive, and the fact that they're queer only warms my heart further. Oh, joy. The fact that they're so unbelievably gay makes me filled with gayness. You know what I mean? Like, clearly, I'm a little confused, though. They said that it's appearing like they were arguing over a cheating boyfriend. So if they had a cheating boyfriend, they must, one of them must be dating the boyfriend, right? So one of them must be straight or at least bisexual. And I guess they found out about the boyfriend cheating with the other one or something like that. And then all of a sudden, now they're holding hands and they're queer. How did they get into a relationship? How did that even... You're talking about fleshed out queer stories, but I'm very confused about this story. It seems as if one of them is straight or bi, and then suddenly they're banging. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So it's clearly not good representation, and it's clearly not fully fleshed out like these people would try to make it seem. And of course, it's interracial. Of course it's an interracial couple. I mean, anybody shocked by that? This adorable and somewhat violent tale had faded into memory when I arrived into Costa del Sol, until I decided that I should check out the pier, only to find the queer couple holding hands on the beach clad in new outfits I hadn't seen before with expanded dialogue. They kept the world alive, and I came to witness more of Midgar. They traveled it alongside me. I haven't spotted them in the Gold Saucer yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're tucked away in an attraction having a good smooch. Again, where's the boyfriend in this situation? Where did that even happen? I don't even know. This is my problem. People like this are tourists. They are tourists to the gaming scene. They damn sure are tourists to Final Fantasy. They're so worried about making Tifa and Aerith gay, they don't even focus on the actual amazing storyline that takes place within Final Fantasy VII and the reason why it's so famous in the first place. Imagine this being the focal point of you when you play Final Fantasy instead of the actual story that's being told. Imagine looking throughout the world and saying, how many gay characters are there? How many trans characters are there? Let's literally count and make an entire article about it so we can complain about it or celebrate it, one of the two. And clearly they're celebrating at straws because the characters are just regular NPCs that don't even have any actual story to them, at least not in the grand scheme of the story itself anyway, and they're not even fleshed out stories. So again, this is the problem with modern day gaming and modern day journalists for games. They aren't the only slice of queer representation folded into the world either. Crow's Nest in the Junon region is home to two friends talking about being over men and the possibility of broadening their romantic horizons, only for the subject of potentially dating one another comes up in the conversation. I haven't returned to this location yet, so who knows if things have changed, but judging from how the rest of the world has been unafraid to evolve, I wouldn't be surprised if it had. I do wish that many of these brief, sapphic romances featured in Rebirth weren't primarily born out of fallouts with men in their lives, as if they needed an excuse to embrace their true identity by leaving behind toxic masculine ideals. There it is, ladies and gentlemen, toxic masculinity. They are the cause. This is the cause of women going lesbian, apparently, at least in the context of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And even this person, Jade King, who is reporting on this, is saying that they wish that the lesbian couples weren't lesbians because they were tired and hateful of men, even though that's usually the case most of the time. And this whole talk about being your true self, this whole talk about, oh, this is just gay people existing, right? They try to use this entire narrative. Oh, we just want to exist. We just want to be normal. We have stories too. But the problem is, you're not acting like everybody else. Everybody else, when they're just existing, that's what they're doing. They're literally just existing. They're not telling you they're just existing. They're not in your face 24/7 talking to you about their sexuality actual lives and telling you they're just existing. No, they're literally just existing. They go about their day and they don't bother anybody. You guys do the opposite. You are literally in everybody's face trying to say you're just existing while poking people nonstop and trying to remind them about how stunning and brave you are for being gay. This is the big difference between the two, and it's a false narrative that people like Jade King like to push. So yet again, we have another article from The Gamer absolutely destroying what it means to be a true Final Fantasy fan. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.